Emerging from the depths of the Pacific Ocean, climbing up to 14,000 feet through the clouds. The Big Island of Hawaii has been evolving over 300,000 years. This island transforms from its core. From there flows an unrelenting energy and spirit. Every October, this place hosts an event that is a reflection of the setting. Welcome back.
There's nothing more challenging than coming to Kona.
There's no other race like this in the world.
A 2.4-mile swim. A 112-mile bike. And a 26.2-mile run.
It's the ultimate test of human endurance.
You have to really look after yourself, otherwise it can go quite wrong.
How epic it is, how tough it is, how grueling it is. Greats of the sport crumble on this island.
It just breaks you mentally. You have to be a killer within to get the best out of yourself.
There's no outside factor, whether it be money or fame, that's going to give you enough to win this race. It has to come from within.
Those who seek out this challenge are defined by a spirit and passion that they hope is unbreakable. This is where they test it. This is the 2016 Ironman World Championship. This epic day begins well before sunrise with check-in and bike prep. The most brutal race you can imagine is just hours away. The sun has yet to reveal the transformation that this quiet tropical town of Kailua Kona has gone through as it once again plays host to the Ironman World Championship. For nearly 40 years, athletes have come from every corner of the globe, age group and professionals alike, to compete alongside the best in the sport and on this legendary course on the Big Island of Hawaii. Just over 2,300 athletes have gathered here. Pros and age groupers have one thing in common: they have all earned the opportunity to be here. This event typifies the term winner takes all, as the race is a single-day world championship. There are no higher stakes. No one realizes that more than German Sebastian Kienle. 2 years ago, he broke through and captured his first Ironman world title, gaining ownership on a Le'i drive. Kienle! But he also found out that guaranteed nothing. A year later, he finished 8th.
It's not something I think back and say like, take it easy this time because I already won it before. No, it's the other way around, because my whole life is pretty much about the sport right now. So this race defines our sport, so it pretty much defines my life.
So redemption is on his mind. His focus is directed on fellow German Jan Frodeno. Jan placed 3rd in 2014, but last year won the world title in commanding fashion.
I push myself, I prepare myself every year because I want to win desperately within myself. There is nothing I love more in the sport than winning.
Jan and Sebastian haven't raced against each other for a year. All eyes are on the battling Germans in anticipation of who may be crowned champion this time. With the long list of contenders, 2 Americans stand out. Ben Hoffman finished in 2nd place, right behind Kienle in 2014, and is coming in confident and prepared. Tim O'Donnell has been knocking on the door for his own world title, finishing 3rd a year ago. Heading the women's field is Tim's wife, 3-time Ironman world champion Mirinda Carfrae. Since her debut in 2009, she has finished in the top 3 every year. Until last year, when the unimaginable happened. She came in contact with a car while training just 3 days before the World Championship, and she had to bow out.
Sport can be cruel. Things happen. That's what also makes it so great when you get it right. The upsets make the great moments even better, so hopefully this year will be a better year.
The accident denied Carfrae the opportunity to defend her World Championship. Without a doubt, this will add fuel and focus to Carfrae's intent on getting that title back. Her biggest obstacle is 2015 Ironman World Champion Daniela Ryf, who had a near-perfect day last October. This Swiss triathlete won every race that she competed in last year. But now she needs to accomplish something she has never done before: win with a healthy Mirinda Carfrae in the field. American Heather Jackson is another woman getting a lot of attention. A breakout 5th-place finish a year ago means she is now on everyone's radar. The general feeling is it's a deep field, and many can make the case that this is their day. The stage is set. Competitors are ready. The sun is about to peek over the horizon. The final details of a world championship are about to be revealed.
Good luck, man.
There is nothing in the world like this moment. Thousands in anticipation of what they will do and what they will see. Every athlete is well aware of the magnitude of the moment. They are all prepared physically. Now it's a mental game.
There's so much questioning yourself. I think it's only natural to start questioning the training you've done. Have I done enough? And worrying about all of those little things. Once that gun goes off, you just have to show your cards and see what happens.
It's one day of the year where your entire season is judged upon. If you've done well throughout the year, it doesn't really mean much unless you have a good day on the second weekend of October.
No, stay right there, guys.
57 professional men gather at the start
You're
line.
gonna see the fastest in the world today.
Tension is everywhere in Kailua Bay. This is the moment.
Stay right there, you've got 1 minute. All right, let's hear it for these pros. Thank you, paddlers.
The cannon cracks through the anticipation and morning air of the 2016 Ironman World Championship. The professional men explode into action, inciting a flurry of arms and legs, all battling for position.
The 2016 Ironman World Championship is on its way. Let's hear it for our professional men.
As the men advance, the professional women line up next. There are now over 100 of the best triathletes in the world fighting for a position on the Roka swim course. And now the start line belongs to the age group athletes. For some, today is about breaking records and personal bests. For others, spirit and strength of heart will play a far bigger role than what the clock says when they cross the finish line, if they cross the finish line.
Ironman really makes me realize what I, as an athlete, as an individual, can accomplish. To dig down deep and fight through the pain, through the emotion, and reach my goal. It exemplifies that.
It's an opportunity to prove that they can, that they will overcome. Ultimately, Ironman is a shared experience. A 2.4-mile swim, a 112-mile bike, and a marathon. But it's a challenge you must conquer alone. They know all about the swells in the Pacific, the heat of the Queen K, and the winds of Hawaii. They want it. The 2016 Ironman World Championship is underway. Just halfway through the 2.4-mile swim, leading the professional men's field is last year's champion, Jan Frodeno, who's gunning for a repeat. But he has company. Estonia's Marco Albert and American Andy Potts trail by just a few strokes. For the women, it's a familiar sight, with former national swimmer Jody Swallow in the lead. What's unfamiliar? She is not alone. And the group around her includes the reigning women's champion, Daniela Ryf. The men's lead pack was pushed off course by a swift current. But now, as they near the end of the swim, everything is rejoined. In the lead is Great Britain's Harry Wilshire.
We've got a big pack for sure coming our way. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
Wilshire is first out of the water. He is surrounded by talent. Right on his heels is defending champion Jan Frodeno.
Harry Wilshire, Jan Frodeno out of the water.
Followed by 9 more athletes clamoring to get to the front. They are separated by seconds. Wilshire and Frodeno are away. Canadian Brent McMahon, American Andy Potts, and a handful of other pros are only steps back. The Ventum bike course is 112 miles long, but every advantage matters, even in transition. Frodeno and McMahon quickly overtake Wilshire as the cycling pursuit begins. 4 minutes back is 2014 world champion Sebastian Kienle. Even though he's behind, this is standard Kienle. His usual tactic is to rely on his dominant cycling ability to get back up to the front. Today is no different. Out on the Queen K Highway, the lead men's pack is gearing up for the long haul. They know that all the players have not arrived yet. Soon, Kienle will be joining them. As the professional men blaze forward on the bike, the women are nearing the end of the swim.
That's one of the biggest women's packs we've ever had here, coming out of the water.
First out of the water is American Meredith Kessler.
Meredith Kessler, first out of that water.
Followed by Great Britain's Jody Swallow.
We got Jody Swallow, Anya Baranek, Annabelle.
First place to 10th place, separated by seconds. A small shuffle from the swim exit to the bike puts Denmark's Camilla Petersen in the lead, but she is not alone. Switzerland's Daniela Ryf is right behind the lead group. Her cycling is her greatest weapon. So how she handles the next 112 miles may determine whether or not she can defend. One thing Daniela knows is who's back there. It's her biggest threat, Mirinda Carfrae. Carfrae's swim and bike are not at the level of Ryf's talents, but no one can touch Carfrae's record-setting marathon or her success racing here in Kona.
I'm right there. I've already got 3 world titles under my belt. I mean, I'm still here because I think I can go faster. I think I can go better. So if I can execute the race I believe I'm capable of, then I think we'll see something pretty special on race day.
Carfrae has always relied on her running ability to win, but she's been making significant improvements in other disciplines like the swim. And right now, she's almost 2 minutes faster than her 2014 World Championship performance. As the pros move from water to earth, there are just over 2,200 age group athletes still in the water of Kailua Bay. For all of them, just lining up is a victory. The experience of racing on this stage validates everything it took for them to get here. Stepping out of the Pacific, their faces are revealed. Some are determined. Some focused. Some joyful. All triumphant. The course is the same for every one of these athletes, but their individual journeys couldn't be more different. As they push further along, they move deeper into the experience of Ironman, and it is there where discoveries are made and challenges are overcome. The obstacles are infinite. No one's experience is necessarily harder than the other, just different. Celebrating that difference is what drives 28-year-old Shirin Garami. Shirin is the first female athlete representing Iran to compete in an Ironman. Her empowering example has drawn attention from unexpected places. And she is well aware the world is watching.
I describe myself as a dreamer. My head's always in the clouds. When I was very little, probably like 3 or 4, all of us grandchildren would get into my grandmother's pool in Tehran, and we used to swim, and I kind of learnt how to keep myself afloat. But as I grew older, then the girls weren't allowed to go into the pool, so we just look at the guys swim, and we weren't able to swim. To just think of being athletic, to think of competing, was not even an option to think of it for me as a child. And I really started swimming and running and cycling properly when I got to the UK and went to university.
Since she was young, very little, all the time she was very adventurous. She's a very positive young woman. She makes her mind, she sets a goal, she goes for it, no matter what.
My thought process was don't live a life of regret. So if there's something that you want to do, give it a shot. Part of the reason I decided to represent Iran is because it became a way of sharing one of the blessings that I've had in life to a me that could have been if I were in Iran. For me, it started as a question of whether Iran would allow me to represent them. And the rules and conditions of Iran for women is that women have to cover up, be it in the streets, in public places, or representing. But when I'm at home, then it's my personal choice. At first, I called up the Triathlon Federation, and they told me that they don't have a female team, and because of the dress sensitivities, it's not going to be possible. And the communications got more and more intense. The permission eventually came through from the Federation, but part of the challenge then was to create clothes that would cover me sufficiently that was approved by the authorities. To think that clothing can be a barrier is out of question. And I realized if I could find a solution, then so many women across the world can perhaps make use of it.
She's just showing by example that covered women in this culture not only can do it physically, but they can do it in a way that's appropriate and respectful. So it's quite emotional to think of her being the first covered woman to really tackle an Ironman. And we have talked about training, training, training. Don't forget about your training. You need to cross that finish line because everything else will flow from there.
I think if she sees another Iranian woman doing the Ironman, that would make her day. That makes it all worth of what she's been through.
Dreamers being dreamers. I would love to think that anything is possible, and I would love to think that if you put your mind to it, you can do it. If I crossed the finish line, then I would have proved myself right, for now.
The sun continues to climb over the big island of Hawaii, casting long shadows on the professional men out there on the Queen Ka'aumanu Highway. Austrian Michael Weiss has decided not to remain in the shadows and is making an early move to the front. He's a former member of the national mountain bike team, and he makes this push to the front look easy. He was out of the water 6 minutes behind the lead and has worked his way up from 50th to 1st. But can he stay there? Defending champion Jan Frodeno is unfazed by this move and remains in striking distance. The 34-year-old German has won at every level. Olympic gold, 2008. An Ironman 70.3 World Championship. And this very race 1 year ago. It gives him confidence, but for Jan, it's all still not enough.
I learned a lot from Kona 2015, especially that I haven't mastered the race yet. I feel like I've done well and I've managed to persevere, but I don't feel I've unfolded my potential.
Jan is the returning champion, so he gets a majority of the attention. But there are other past champions here who know the weight of carrying that title.
The obvious pick is Jan. He is probably at his very best, but I still believe that when I'm at my very best, that I have a shot at win. I'm honest with myself and with everybody else that I want to win the race.
Kienle has earned that right, but it's not just one man that stands in his way.
Obviously, guys like Jan and Sebastian have been at the top before, and they'll most likely be threats to be at the top again. But once you start underestimating some of those other guys, and there are a lot of them, they're going to sneak up on you.
Behind the men, the professional women are all out on the bike, heading north on the Ventum bike course toward the village of Hawi. Out front is American Meredith Kessler. She was first out of the water, but leads in this race can be fleeting, especially when Daniela Reef is in the field. The defending champion has moved up to second, and her presence is enormous. Daniela has clocked the fastest bike splits from the past 2 years here in Kona. She knows the course and what she's able to accomplish on it. Now, it comes down to execution.
Daniela's an incredible athlete, and she's proven that she's the most dominant long-distance triathlete.
You never know. I mean, she's human. She can have a not a perfect day as well, but it would be silly to bet against her for sure.
Can't do anything about Daniela. I just have to react the best way that I know for myself. And if Daniela is a better athlete on the day, she's a better athlete. You can't change the facts.
She's set the standard for the last couple of years, and we all aspire to be as good as her.
You can easily hear the respect that exists for the Daniela dominance. She moves past Kessler and does what the field expects her to do. But it's only 20 miles in, and she knows this is no luck. The challenge is still there. One of those women is three-time world champion Mirinda Carfrae. Though she trails on the bike, she is by far the strongest runner in the field. and she could never be counted out.
Every time I've come to this race, I've kind of earned the right to be a favorite. I've had great results here, and certainly the front pack girls will be checking time splits to see where I am, but I've got targets on their backs too.
Carfrae is down by 7 minutes to Reef. In her mind, that is doable. As the professional men and women battle for a world championship, back in Kailua Bay, some of the age group athletes are still coming out of the water. Justifying this kind of effort requires a faith and a drive that goes a little beyond. Inspired by what father and son Dick and Rick Hoyt did 27 years ago. That is certainly the case for Jeff and Johnny Agar. As a young man, Jeff played professional baseball. Johnny was born with cerebral palsy and is severely limited in his physical ability. But here, in Ironman, with his dad, these two have all the ability in the world.
Johnny's very limited with what he can do on his own. Knowing that, and knowing that Jeff had this athletic background, I thought, it's going to be impossible for him to bond with his son. I don't know how he's going to do it. And I was scared that that was going to be a huge wedge.
In 2009, we did a race together, Johnny and I. We did a 5K. And I thought, well, how big a deal can that be? And so the first race, we had to gut out 3 miles. And there's like an 80-year-old power walker was kicking my butt for about 2 miles.
I could hear him breathing behind me. He was dead tired after that. And I kind of prodded him on a little bit, saying, you know how much I really enjoyed that? Let's see if we can do it again.
I said, Johnny, if you're going to do more of these things, we got to start training. So we joined a run group, started doing more and more.
After that, we were doing 5Ks every weekend. You know, that kind of brought our family together.
When Johnny and Jeff ran their first race, he just lit up. He loved it. He smiled the whole entire time. Johnny was definitely hooked.
We kind of said, well, maybe we could do a small triathlon with him. You know, the next year we did a little bit longer distance, and a little bit longer, and a little bit longer. I think having a special needs child gets you to keep thinking, you know, what can you do beyond what you're doing today to get them involved in stuff that they love to do?
We're just doing what we love. Together as a father and son competing in sports. When you can do that with your father, I mean, that's a dream come true.
It's a Giants-Cowboys showdown Sunday on Sports Final.
Heading north to the tip of Hawaii, the weather and landscape of the island changes from barren lava fields to windswept grasslands and pasture. The climb to the turnaround at Hawi is a complete transformation. Almost like you've entered another world. Familiar and comfortable with the changing scenery is the 2014 world champion, Sebastian Kienle. He was out of the water 4 minutes behind the lead men. But he's been working his way up through the field since. And now he's closing in on the top spot. And that's where he finds Austrian Michael Weiss. Weiss made an early sprint to the front and passed Kienle in the early miles of the race. But the Ironman is all about managing time and distance, and no one knows that better than Kienle. Making a pass means nothing if you can't make it permanent. Kienle gives Weiss a lesson in timing, and the 2014 world champion takes the lead. Following Kienle's move is fellow German Andy Boscherer. And the front pack approaches the northern turnaround at Hawi. It's Kienle, Boscherer, Weiss, then American Tim O'Donnell. A long line of contenders in pursuit. Sebastian Kienle has made his charge to the front, and the prevailing feeling is it's his race to lose. But only 12 seconds back, 2015 world champion Jan Frodeno is still in striking distance. Hammering away at the front of the women's race is 29-year-old Daniela Ryf. The defending champion is making better time on the bike than she did a year ago. Keeping the champion in her sights is German Anja Baranek. This is Anja's third attempt in Kona, and she's never finished. Shadowing Ryf could produce Anja's best result, or another did not finish. As the two hit the turn in Hawi, Baranek remains in position behind Ryf. But the question is, can she hold on? There's only one word to describe Ryf's pace, and it's furious.
My goal is to push that bike for 180K and then run the whole marathon in a pace where you're like, yes, this rocks. And I don't know if it's possible. The conditions are just too hard. The heat, the humidity, the wind, the best in the world against you.
Daniela is making good on her promise, and Baranek can't hang on. She begins to lose ground. American Heather Jackson was out of the water in 22nd place, but has been rocketing up through the field. She has climbed all the way up to third. Three-time Ironman world champion Mirinda Carfrae is down 14 minutes to Ryf. She can shave that time down, and she knows what it's going to cost.
We're all type A, but I think the willingness to suffer for the opportunity to do something great, the willingness to go through hell with small chance that that hell might lead to heaven, and that heaven is winning a world title.
Hell and heaven in Kona. That's what it gives and takes. The unspoiled, lush beauty of this island can easily mask the harsh realities of competing here. Both are uncompromising. Both are in perpetual motion. Both are evolving, and everything we see is a snippet in time of that particular moment of possible triumph. It's a natural human reaction to strive for balance between harsh realities and the unspoiled beauty of our surroundings. Shirin Garami is finding a balance within herself by respecting realities and customs, and in turn displaying a unique beauty that this course has never seen before. For Jeff and Johnny Agar, the realities of cerebral palsy could have created a quiet, distance relationship. Instead, there is a bond between a father and a son that is undeniable, and the connection they have achieved enriches their lives and inspires many more. Back on the Big Island of Hawaii, the 2016 Ironman World Championship continues. Many of the age group athletes are deep into their journey through the legendary lava fields of Kona. Oppressive radiating heat and vicious crosswinds are par for the course. For some of them, the 112 miles may take as long as 10.5 hours to complete. The pros do it in half that time. Arguably, the best cyclist on the course is Sebastian Kienle of Germany, who's closing in on transition 2. The 2014 world champion has been trying to pull away from the competition for 30 miles. His tactic has always been to create a cushion on the bike and let the field try to reel him in on the run. But that is not the case this year. 10 seconds behind Kienle is another strong German cyclist, Andy Boscherer. And right behind Andy is last year's world champion, Jan Frodeno. Australian Luke McKenzie and American Ben Hoffman are on Jan's heels. 20 seconds later, is American Tim O'Donnell. Sebastian Kienle loses some time in transition, and Jan Frodeno takes advantage, jumping into the lead as they head out onto the Hoka One One run course. Kienle has never won a foot race with Frodeno before, but this is a whole new year, and this could be a whole new Sebastian Kienle. 20 seconds back of the lead, Ben Hoffman, Tim O'Donnell, and German Andy Boscherer depart the transition. Up ahead, Kienle and Frodeno are setting a blistering pace, running sub-6-minute miles. It feels like it's a two-man race, and it's up to someone to try and change it. As the professional men attack the Hoka One One run course, the women's field is not far behind them. Closing in on transition 2 is Switzerland's Daniela Ryf. This is familiar territory for her, and she carries the lead for the third time in 3 years into the transition. Ryf completes the bike in a time of 4:52.26, only a minute 40 off her time from last year. Daniela has the talent to continue to hold her lead. We've seen that, and we've also seen that a lot can go wrong in 26.2 miles. Roughly 7 minutes behind Ryf, Anya Baranek closes in on transition 2. This is her third attempt at Kona, so keeping pace with Daniela may not have been the best strategy. The last leg of this race will either confirm or deny Anya's decision. The marathon always reveals every miscalculation. Off the bike in third is American Heather Jackson, with Australian Annabelle Luxford just seconds behind. But it is Ryf who continues to dictate the race. She's run her first mile in 6:25. If she can sustain this pace through the entire marathon, she will smash the course record. Mirinda Carfrae hits T2 facing a significant deficit, but she's been here before. Everyone in the field knows that she hunts from the back, and it's an effective strategy that has yielded 3 world championships for her. It's time for Mirinda Carfrae to work the magic. The Ventum bike course is still dotted with age group athletes pushing their way toward what they hope is their finish. They're not as fast as the pro athletes, but what they lack in pace, they more than make up for in purpose. Pushing limits through the heat-soaked lava fields and fierce crosswinds with no relief in sight. This is what purpose looks like. All of these athletes are trying to achieve something greater than themselves, building an equation with each pedal stroke where the total is greater than the sum of the parts. That's certainly the case for athlete number 152, Australian Turia Pitt. In September 2011, she was racing in an ultramarathon that converged with an out-of-control brush fire, and Turia was caught in its path. That changed everything.
I got to checkpoint 2, which was about 25 kilometers into the race, and where we were, it was like a gorge. We were at the bottom of the gorge. We saw the fire coming. So we had 2 options. We could go back the way we came, but there was really high grass up to about our shoulders, so perfect fuel for the fire. Or we could go up the side of the gorge, which was rocky and had less vegetation, but fire actually travels faster going uphill. So it was like kind of literally the fire or the frying pan kind of choice. So I went up the side of the gorge. That's the way that I chose. So I was burnt to 65% of my body. I had 7 fingers amputated.
She was in a coma for about 2 weeks. When she came out of it, I talked to her and she was able to move her head and open her eyes and look at me. And that was really reassuring because I'd gone from saying, you know, she might not live, and then I've got this connection again with my girlfriend that, you know, she looks at me in the eyes and I'm like here, and that just felt really reassuring for me to know that she knew that I was there.
When the doctors told me I had to readjust my expectations of life, and they would say, oh, you know, like, you know, you might be able to get a job, you might get married, you might be able to drive again. And inside I was just screaming because I was like, that's stuff that everyone does. So that, for me, that was, I guess, one of the most frustrating things, was that because I had an accident, suddenly everyone's expectations of me plummeted. In hospital, it was a real team effort, so between myself, Michael Hoskin, my partner, and my mum. I remember the first day I said to them that I wanted to do an Ironman. And they didn't say, oh, you know, like, that's silly. The doctor said you won't be able to run again. They just said, okay, great idea. Like, come on, we gotta go get you working. We gotta go get you training for the Ironman. You know, and I think that's, as much as I have a lot of inner strength, I think having other people that believe in you and are willing to back you, I think that's such a beautiful thing.
She's been to the darkest level there is to live. She couldn't even walk. You know, she'd scream in pain after 2 steps. And so I think this is more of a challenge for her, and to say, hey, you know, I'm alive and I'm going to challenge myself and I'm going to go until I can't give up.
You know, Michael and I, we went from boyfriend, girlfriend to patient, carer. And at times I just wanted to strangle Michael. And I'm sure at times he wanted to do the same for me. But I'm really grateful to have him in my life.
She's probably stronger than what she was before I met her. When I look at her, I see Terea. I see a beautiful Terea. She's still the girl I fell in love with.
The Ironman World Championship on the Big Island of Hawaii now has over 2,200 age group athletes spread out over the 112-mile bike course. All of them bound together by a single mission. These are the pros, and they're in the early miles of the run. Jan Frodeno and Sebastian Kienle side by side, and for the moment, having fun. Behind the two Germans is American Ben Hoffman, who finished second in 2014. Currently, he's 1 minute 20 behind the leaders and trying to pull away from German Andy Boscherer in fourth. Tim O'Donnell is fifth, but he's dropped a minute since starting the run. The lead position is starting to get away from him. The turn on Ali'i Drive gives the lead men a glimpse of the competition. This is where they can evaluate the athletes hoping to catch them from behind.
Ironman is all about the long distance, about the long haul. You know pain is coming. But deep down, somewhere I've got a turbo buried still within my body, and it's wanted to come out to race and have a head-to-head competition.
The smallest maneuver can have significant consequences. Just a few steps can easily turn into an insurmountable lead. Frodeno creates that separation, and Kienle is not responding. This could be the dropped pebble that creates a wave for Frodeno, enabling him to defend his world championship. While the men make their way out of town, Daniela Ryf is not far behind. She's running at a record-breaking pace and creating even more separation from the rest of the field. But the most challenging part of this marathon is still to come.
1 second, 1/4, otherwise every race a win.
German Anja Baranek stayed with Daniela for most of the bike. Right now, she's battling to hold that pace as Heather Jackson closes in on her second place position. The biggest mover for the women is Mirinda Carfrae. This is where she wins championships, and she's earned every bit of her killer reputation.
Being the best of the best, for me, that's everything. It's not about just finishing, it's about going freaking fast.
This is what Carfrae does. Moving from 13th out of T2 up to 5th. And she's continuing to fire to the front. Daniela Ryf isn't running toward the finish. She's running away from Carfrae. The Big Island of Hawaii reminds us that some things should remain wild. The unspoiled beauty of this terrain is pure and at the same time unforgiving. From lush, breathtaking waterfalls to harsh, barren lava fields, the setting pushes limits in the same way the event pushes boundaries. Out on the Hoka One One run course is professional men's leader Jan Frodeno. He's having a championship-worthy day. Jan has extended his lead over fellow German Sebastian Kienle. The two men ran shoulder to shoulder for 10 miles, and now they don't. As Jan Frodeno enters the Natural Energy Lab, he finds himself with a commanding lead over Kienle. Currently, Kienle is holding second place, but final positions are far from set. The two Germans pass each other on the most unpredictable part of the entire course. So many leads have come undone by the Natural Energy Lab. This one could be just as vulnerable. In the women's race, Switzerland's Daniela Ryf continues her dominating charge. She was with the lead pack out of the water today and came off the bike with just over a 7-minute advantage. She started the marathon alone. If she can keep this blistering pace up, she will finish uncontested and in record time. Anja Baranek is putting a solid performance together. But her time in second place is under siege as American Heather Jackson continues to close in. Mirinda Carfrae continues to surge, and American Mary Beth Ellis is the next athlete in her wake. The only question is if Carfrae's charge is enough to get past Daniela before Daniela reaches the finish. For Jan Frodeno, it's been here, done that. He's leading an Ironman and showing no signs of slowing down. Which is not good news for second place Sebastian Kienle. He's crushing his run time from last year by almost 15 minutes, but it's still not enough to overtake Jan. Now, Sebastian needs to concern himself more with defending than pursuing. Behind Kienle is a Kona rookie who is moving faster than a rookie should be moving. It's Patrick Lang. And he blasts past Andy Boscherer to take fourth. This 30-year-old German is averaging just over 6 minutes a mile at this point of the race. Keep in mind he's just finished about an hour of swimming and 4.5 hours of biking. This should not be happening. Next, Lang reels in American Ben Hoffman and takes third. With just a couple of miles to go, Kienle's second place position could be in jeopardy. As the professional men near their finish, the age group athletes continue to stream into transition 2. In the mix is the trailblazing Iranian athlete Shirin Karami. So much had to come together with so many working to help put her in this position. She knows she is not competing alone. For Shirin, this is her tribute to those who have helped her along the way. This is a journey that is about much more than just one woman.
I've lived in the UK for a lot of my life, and it has given me the opportunity to love people wholeheartedly from different cultures. You see in the media, unfortunately, ways of vilifying the other. But when you're in between the cultures and when you wholeheartedly love someone, whether they wear a scarf or whether they don't, you come to understand that they are just the same at core, at heart. What you wear is just the surface. It's who you are inside. It's what you aspire to be. It's what you do. It's not that piece of fabric on top of us.
Out on the Queen K Highway, Jeff and Johnny Agar are struggling. They're trying to beat the bike cutoff so they can continue on to the run. Time and distance, not on their side. Taria Pitt has finished up the bike course and heads out onto the run looking steady and determined to finish this race and prove anything is possible. Back on the big island of Hawaii, the Ironman World Championship is nearing its close for the pros. Throughout the majority of the day, Daniela Reeve has been out in front and all alone. She could be delivering a record-breaking performance. It appears to be her day once again. The race for second place continues as American Heather Jackson has caught up to Germany's Anja Baranek. It took Jackson almost 18 miles to erase an 8-minute deficit to Baranek. Jackson's in second place. But there is a super force behind those women. Mirinda Carfrae is not finished making her charge. She's made up a 14-minute deficit to Baranek and moves past her into third. Nearing the final miles, Carfrae's still not done. She catches Jackson, makes a look, and that look says, "See ya." The day is nearing an end for the professional men. The finish line is calling. The athlete that has clearly answered that call is defending world champion Jan Frodeno. He was second out of the water, executed a top 10 bike split, and finished with a blazing fast marathon. Jan has achieved his second world championship with a flawless application of talent on the toughest course on the planet. Since the inception of Ironman in 1978, only 4 men have won this world championship back-to-back. Jan makes it 5. Two years ago, Sebastian Kienle won it all. Today, he'll settle for a hard-fought second place. Sebastian brought significant improvement to this year's World Championship, especially his run. He'll be back. First-time Kona competitor Patrick Lang is in disbelief. He has astounded everyone with his third-place finish and a record-shattering marathon performance. Emotion completely overtakes him. An Ironman podium is a dream Patrick never dared to hope for. American Ben Hoffman fought to the end, leaving it all out there on the course, claiming fourth. German Andy Böscher across the line with an emotional fifth. The celebration at the finish line is just beginning. After crowning Jan Frodeno champion once again, the crowd readies for the professional women. Picking up her pace as she closes in on the finish line, Daniela Ryf is understandably excited. She flies through the finish chute like she flew through the course. Ryf took the lead of this race just before the halfway point on the bike and never looked back.
Ironman World Champion for the women, Daniela Ryf!
The 29-year-old Swiss triathlete had clocked the fastest Kona time in Ironman history. Three-time Ironman world champion Mirinda Carfrae gave it all she could today and claimed second place, graciously applauding all the support all the way to the line. American Heather Jackson finished 5th a year ago. This year she was hoping for top 10. She'll have to settle for 3rd. After not finishing twice, Anya Baranek now knows what it's like to make it to the line and how it makes you feel. The professionals have crowned their 2016 champions, but this race is far from over. There are still over 2,200 athletes out on the course, fighting to make it across that same finish line. All of them just want to hear those words. You are an Ironman. The race course is 140.6 miles long, but this is where the magic happens. Once athletes cross the finish line, emotional restraint is not an option. Feelings of triumph overwhelm everyone that finishes this brutal event and everyone that watches them do it. The reactions are unfiltered and honest. It is a disarming and vulnerable moment for these competitors, and you just see how much they have given and how much this means to them. But not every competitor will get to the line. Jeff and Johnny Agar have not made the bike cutoff, and their race has to end.
You fought a good fight, guys. Thanks. Good job, buddy.
All right, bud. Well, we gave it our best for today.
Yeah, sometimes you win, sometimes you learn, so
we're not kidding about the wins.
Moments of defeat are just moments, and moments pass. The Agars will compete another day, wiser and stronger and even more determined to experience the magic of that line. As the sun gently lowers over Kona, the golden light covers this island in an ethereal glow. The place is the same, but the luminance has changed, much like the Ironman itself. The task remains, but the spotlight now shifts from contending with the course to completing it. As some athletes near their end, 83-year-old Hiromu Inada is just starting his marathon. He's on a mission to finish. If he does, he'll be the oldest person to ever do it. Shirin Gharami persists with more than just a purpose. She successfully lobbied the Iranian Triathlon Federation for permission to compete. The fact that she is competing is its own victory. As the sun touches the horizon and the light dims, the quest to finish only intensifies. They pour into the finish chute with the singular intent to conclude this monumental race and find what they may when they cross the line in a moment of pure truth. It reveals them, it empowers them, it humbles them. It's a celebration of gratitude for everyone and everything that has been a part of this moment, even in the smallest of ways. Transformation of the day is complete. Nighttime offers a new perspective, sharpening the view of what needs to be seen and narrowing its focus. That type of tunnel vision is exactly what Hiromu Inada needs to get himself to the finish line. Listen to this. A year ago, he missed the cutoff by 6 seconds. The clock is ticking on him again. Then there's Turia Pitt, striving to be exceptional and succeeding in the process. The energy of the finish line is at full blast. The athletes that cross the line in darkness need the vitality of the crowd to light the way for them. And the crowd never lets them down. Final efforts are made, and the emotions spill out. The exuberance and purity of this moment prints itself into the memory of every one of these competitors. This is a lifetime experience. For Shirin Gharami, that sentiment is personified by the fact that she is making history, breaking through barriers and empowering others. That is what this Ironman means to her.
I want to hear it for Shirin Gharami. You are an Ironman.
I am ever so humbled by how utterly amazing everyone has been from all corners of the world who really supported this and who it was their encouragement and their help which has helped me get to where I'm here now. Alone, this would have never been possible.
Since the beginning of Ironman, people have always asked, why? It's so you can feel like that. Turia Pitt has proven anything is possible.
My journey over the past 5 years, it's been pretty extraordinary, and I never would have thought that I would have had the strength to do everything that I've done, so I'll be really proud of myself.
Turia Pitt, you are an Ironman.
In these moments, there are no words. As the clock nears its midnight cutoff, Hiromu Inada appears. This time, he doesn't miss by 6 seconds. This time, he makes it. He is 83, the oldest to ever do this. So that's just another barrier to break at the Ironman.